Ever wondered how one filmmaker can tilt the whole axis of blockbuster cinema with a single movie and then keep doing it? Today, we're unlocking the cinematic world of Christopher Nolan. Hi, I'm Leah, feeling super excited to dive into today's topic.
And I'm Garrett, equally pumped to explore this one with you all. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett. All right, let's set the stage for this one. We're talking Christopher Nolan, the British-American filmmaker behind Memento, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer, and yeah, his new Odyssey. Big canvas, big ideas. Quick story. The first time I saw Inception in a theater, I walked out kind of stunned. Not just by the spinning hallway or the zero-gravity fight, but by how the movie felt like a conversation about belief and reality while also being a heist flick. I remember thinking, if a film can make me feel the mechanics of time like that, maybe structure is as exciting as action. That was the night I started really paying attention to how stories are built, not just what they're about.
Let's open the book on this. Christopher Nolan is a filmmaker who blends intellectual puzzles with massive spectacle. Think of him as the person who takes big, chewy questions about memory, identity, and time, and then wraps them in set pieces you can feel in your bones. He's known for practical effects, real, physical tricks and stunts instead of computer graphics, and for shooting on large film formats like IMAX 70mm, which is basically a super high-resolution film camera and print that makes images extra crisp and immersive on giant screens.
If you're new to his work, here's a simple analogy. Imagine a maze you walk through that changes shape as you move, and the floor vibrates with each step. Nolan's films are like that. The ideas are the maze, and the craft, the cameras, the sound, the stunts, is the floor that makes you feel it. So you get heady concepts, but your gut is driving, which is why so many people show up for these movies, even when they're, kind of brain twisters.
Big picture, he's widely seen as one of the most influential filmmakers of the 21st century. His films have crossed $6 billion worldwide, which is wild given how many of them are original, not sequels. And he's been honored across the board, including winning Oscars for Best Director and Best Picture for Oppenheimer and being knighted in 2024. That's a career that mixes art house ambition with, honestly, stadium-sized showmanship.
Beginning with the early days, what jumps out is how young the spark was. He's talked about Star Wars as a huge influence, George Lucas's space opera that basically reset pop culture, and Ridley Scott's work, like Alien and Blade Runner, as a template for world building. Those weren't just movies to him. They were blueprints for making imagination tangible.
Picture this kid in London, summers in Evanston, Illinois. That transatlantic life gave him two lenses to look through, British and American, and he starts filming at age 7 with a Super 8 camera. He made a stop-motion Star Wars homage called Space Wars, building sets out of everyday stuff like egg boxes and toilet rolls. Resourceful, a little scrappy, and totally focused.
He even refilmed Apollo rocket launches off a screen using footage an uncle had. The uncle worked on Apollo guidance systems, and he cut that into his own childhood movies. It's both hilarious and perfect. It shows the little engineer meets artist brain at work. Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool, right?
As a teen, he linked up with Adrian and Rocco Bellic, two documentary filmmakers in the making, and co-directed an 8mm short called Tarantella, which later aired on PBS's Image Union. That's early exhibition, even if experimental. It's like proving to yourself you can get a weird personal vision in front of people.
And the binational upbringing matters. Moving between Highgate in London and time in Illinois and Chicago gave him cultural agility. You can feel that later when he moves easily between British crews and Hollywood scale. It's a comfort with two cinematic ecosystems. That sets us up for his middle phase.
Middle phase now, where the rise meets the struggle. He studies English literature at University College London, not film, which I love, because he wanted a broad base while still using UCL's film gear. English Lit is like structure school. You learn how stories are built. And at UCL, he becomes president of the Film Society, where he and Emma Thomas, who becomes his producing partner and later his wife, screen 35mm prints during term, then use the proceeds to shoot their own 16mm projects in the summer.
That loop is genius. Exhibit movies to fund making movies. It's hands-on MBA energy, and it sets up Syncope, the production company he and Thomas would eventually found. Along the way, he makes the short Larceny, black and white, and festival play, then Doodlebug, a paranoid little gem about a man hunting a tiny version of himself, already playing with recursion and identity.
But it wasn't smooth sailing. He tries to get features going, hits a wall with financing, and works gigs as a script reader and on corporate videos to keep the craft sharp. So he pivots to ultra-low budget. Following comes together on weekends for about £3,000, rehearsed to nail takes quickly and save film stock. Minimalist noir, fractured timelines, and it gets noticed on the festival circuit.
Then comes the big swing. Memento, adapted from his brother Jonathan Nolan's story, Memento Mori. Jonathan's a writer and showrunner in his own right, premieres at Venice in 2000. Reverse chronology, anterograde amnesia. The character can't form new memories after a trauma, and a structure that makes you live the disorientation as it happens. Studios passed at first. Newmarket Films stepped in. It becomes a sleeper hit and turns into the calling card.
I have to ask, why did that work on audiences so hard when it's like arguably a puzzle? I think it's because the form matches the feeling. The reverse order isn't a flex. It's empathy for a mind that can't hold on. Real talk. That's where the heart meets the head in his movies.
Totally. And it's also a trust signal to studios that he can manage complexity without losing people. That tees up the next phase, the resolution, if you will.
He takes on Batman Begins in 2005 and reframes the superhero as grounded and psychological. Christian Bale, an actor known for intensity, plays Bruce Wayne as a person first. Miniatures, real stunts, minimal CGI. Suddenly, the studio tentpole feels tactile again, like metal and rubber and wind.
Then The Prestige hits, a mystery about rival magicians, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, co-written with Jonathan. Obsession, doubling, the cost of sacrifice. It's the Nolan themes at Victorian scale. But The Dark Knight in 2008 is the earthquake. He brings IMAX cameras into major motion picture action in a big way. Heath Ledger's Joker becomes mythic, the film crosses $1 billion, and its Best Picture snub helps push the Academy to expand the Best Picture field. That's culture-level impact.
Inception in 2010 proves an original blockbuster can be brainy and still global. 4 Oscars, enormous box office, and hey, the hallway fight was a rotating set, not CGI. That's practical effects in action, real-world rigs that make your body buy into the illusion.
Interstellar in 2014 rides with theoretical physicist Kip Thorne. He's a Nobel-winning scientist who studies gravity, so the film's black holes and time dilation have serious math behind them. It wins the visual effects Oscar and even inspires academic papers. That's the brain trust approach again. Put experts in the room, build wonder on a foundation of rigor.
Dunkirk in 2017 compresses a week on land, a day at sea, and an hour in the air into a triptych. Minimal dialogue, maximum tension. It becomes the highest-grossing World War II film ever and gets him his first Best Director nomination. Also, National Film Registry nods have followed his work. Those are films the Library of Congress preserves as culturally or artistically significant, so we're talking long-term value, not just opening weekend.
Tenet arrives in 2020, right after the COVID shutdowns, making it the first big tentpole back in theaters. It features temporal inversion, mind-bending stunts, including crashing a real 747, and it won an Oscar for visual effects. Friction over Tenet's release with Warner Bros. Leads Nolan to move to Universal. There, he negotiates wild terms for Oppenheimer, total creative control, and around 100-day theatrical window, meaning cinemas show it exclusively for that period, about 20% of first dollar gross, which is revenue participation from the first ticket sold, and a blackout period where Universal won't crowd its slate around the release.
Oppenheimer in 2023 nearly hits $1 billion, wins Best Director and Best Picture. Then he's knighted in 2024, becomes DGA president in 2025, that's the Directors Guild of America representing directors' interests, and in 2026 drops The Odyssey, his most expensive film at about $250 million and shot entirely on IMAX 70mm. Some people debated casting and accents, but reviews praised how he reframed Homer through his core themes of memory and identity. It's the biggest canvas yet for that Nolan heartbeat.
Before we move on, one lingering debate. Is Insomnia, his 2002 studio remake with Al Pacino, Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank, really an outlier? Some folks say yes because the structure is more traditional. Others say no because the moral fog and psychological tension are classic Nolan. Where do you land?
I'm team not outlier. The moral ambiguity where you're unsure who's right and the cost of doing the job keeps shifting feels very Nolan. Even if the timeline isn't a puzzle box, the psychology is. You've got a detective unraveling under endless daylight, which is such an elegant metaphor for being unable to hide from yourself. That anticipates the identity and ethics questions in later films. So yeah, different shape, same DNA.
I hear that, and I like that read. I still lean outlier, though, mainly on form. When I think Nolan, I think structural risk, reverse chronology, braided time, dream layers, temporal inversion. Insomnia plays straighter. It's a strong, moody procedural. Procedural meaning it follows the step-by-step of an investigation, but it doesn't bend time like the later work. So to me, it stands apart on how it's built, not on quality.
Why do you think the studio origins shape that perception so much? Is it just expectations? Remake equals conventional? Or is there more to it?
Partly expectations. A studio remake comes with lanes, and he was proving he could drive within them. But I also think it's strategic. He showed craft control with Insomnia, then leveraged that trust to get weirder. It's like a chess opening, solid, principled, and designed to unleash sharper tactics mid-game.
Fair. And honestly, either way, it's a strong chapter. Okay, pop culture ripples. The Dark Knight helps popularize a gritty, realistic tone in superhero movies. You can trace a line from its grounded crime epic vibe to so many later adaptations. And that Oscars shift to expand the Best Picture field, which people even nickname the Dark Knight rule, shows how a single film can make the industry rearrange its categories.
Also, Tenet becomes the symbol of the theatrical versus streaming argument during COVID. Whether you loved or bounced off the movie, it was the lightning rod for talking about why theaters matter and how release windows should work. That debate shaped deals like the one for Oppenheimer and, I'd argue, helped refocus attention on the big screen experience.
Counterfactual time. What if Nolan had stayed on Troy, the Homeric epic Wolfgang Petersen tackled, and never pivoted to Batman Begins? I imagine superhero films might have stayed lighter for longer. Without that grounded reboot, maybe we don't get the same appetite for realism, and the genre leans more quippy than brooding. The Academy shift might not happen when it did, because the Dark Knight's influence isn't there to push that conversation.
And if he stayed with historical epics, I could see a run of rigorously researched large-format period films. Imagine Nolan doing, say, The Odyssey a decade earlier, or tackling other myths with his time structure tools. The big ripple is that someone else rebuilds Batman, probably less grounded, and we lose that IMAX forward momentum in comic book movies for a while. Meanwhile, Troy-like projects might get a craft upgrade, more practical effects, fewer digital armies, and a stronger spine of theme and structure. Different tree, same sap.
I also wonder if his preservation work, like co-hosting those film stock summits and pushing for 70mm presentations, would have found a different tone if his signature franchise had been epics instead of superheroes. Maybe the same outcome, just a different road there. Either way, his compass points to the same north. Cinema as something you feel in your body, not just your brain. Stay curious, everyone.
And keep exploring the world of cinema with us. Until next time.